Good morning, and a Merry Christmas. This is Pigsy on Christmas Day. Let's see what you can see behind me. So there's a bit of a storm drain, and there's also a lake. This is basically near where my parents live. It's a man-made lake, so it's sort of raised. That's the only issue with it, because if you get a situation where we get a sort of say an asteroid hits or something, earthquake, potentially it could split and the water could gush down the hill. Basically, that wouldn't be so great. The storm drain, however, is probably quite a good place to go as a shelter, as a makeshift shelter, and also if you're below the water level, when there's any sort of situation arises, basically you can basically the blasting just go over the top of it. It's a bit like when you'd have like these Japanese fishermen, they would go out to sea. The actual shockwave was under the water and travelling through the water. They noticed sort of like stormy ripples, but they actually unaffected their boats. But by the time they got back to their fishing village, so basically the fishermen were out of the sort of shockwave. But as it went through and it found a point of resistance where it couldn't go past, the water raised up and then went across onto the land. The reverse can be done with sort of energy that's like wind. So there's a kind of membrane that's separating it, and water's low resistance, so it's not going to pick up the water and drag you out. However, shock waves travel faster in the water, and your body's made of water, so it's either going to work for you or it's going to actually amplify it and work against you. I think it's five times faster in water, basically. I have to apologise in advance if this video is a bit choppy, but basically there's just so much going on, and like Christmas Day, I wouldn't expect there'd be so many people who like to walk around this particular lake I'm at. But there's joggers with Christmas hats and all sorts whizzing around, and kids with new toys that are trying it out around the lake. So that's quite normal. So I mean, there's different resources here in the lake I could use. Basically, if it hits the fan, then that's something I can use for my advantage. So there's also some other sort of side tail, we call it. So it's not just intel; it's like intuition, psychic stuff, all that sort of stuff. So I woke up in the early hours. I did actually feel some slight pains in my arm, and you may be aware that the Queen's gone into some pretty underground bunker or something. She's cancelling going to church. Now, what if a lot of this stuff that was staged as a population to degenerate the population was actually a part of a globalist agenda to do with all this, which taps into Nibiru? They're using the circumstances to their advantage. So while we might get iron oxide in our atmosphere, I doubt they're adding it by chemtrails, or you'd see like a red splurt from the back of a plane. But they might be using sort of blue beam technology and some other stuff. There's also the possibility of using radiation from a satellite, which may sound a bit sort of far-fetched for some people, or not. If you've got the sun outside, you're drawing resources from that. Basically, back in the day of Ronald Reagan, he was saying about his Star Wars project, about using lasers. So, and also with the HAARP technology as well, but instead of using it as sort of a concentrated burst, a wideband burst. And if you're just hitting people for over a year or two with microwave radiation, and you're trying to increase that and using that as an advantage with what's going on with the arrival of Planet X, then you can kind of blame that for that. There's supposedly meant to be this deep wave energy, but we have to remember, even in this sort of the alternative kind of media, if that still exists, that there's a lot of psyops, and it does create sort of disorders in people as well, to be honest. I was watching today or something, and some chap was just going on about the government, them. But when you start talking like that, you start sounding like you're in Crazy Town. I mean, you have to give the government due. They're not all evil. It's just that there's a few people who actually, it's all about money. Money just corrupts people. Their intention is just to get the best deal out of it. But the government is a separate entity from the people, and as it's become more corporatised, it seems to be treating the people aspect poorer, and as a result, all these other agendas have gone well, basically, are on the cards, basically, the Illuminati cards, possibly. So there's a lot of issues with these kind of events that potentially could happen to involving people that are backing it. So possibly they could be using the technology to increase the radiation, but I'm just wondering why the Queen wouldn't want to go to a church. She's cancelled it for whatever reason. Maybe she knows something that we don't, obviously, and even if she was a reptilian, it's a bit big cowardice, as due to her age as well. Why would you fear death at all? Because it's not like you're in your 20s. I think if you could die any time, why would you be so scared of a bit of cosmic rays or space weather? But there's a lot more. The technology out in space is much more advanced than we realise. I don't know what it means in the grand spectrum for humanity. We'll have to see actually what happens. So yeah. But as an elite, basically, if you start microwaving the population of an area with some type of wideband radius, you could potentially cause more cancer, and cancer's profit. Cancer's an industry as well, so they can forecast that it's due to radiation and blame something else, or they say it'd be due to global warming. Anything but the truth, because you don't deserve that. I mean, that would just be like treating you as an equal. Can you imagine that? Equal way of thinking, push for more rights and everything else, and then they're toppled down this like it's not a pyramid, it's like something but that Jenga. So it's not as well controlled as it was. I think there's a certain amount of fear, and they kind of show the cards. It's fine to be scared. But at least sort of, I don't know, stand up to it a bit, I guess. I mean, this is how you survive, is for either avoidance or confrontation. If you just hang around doing nothing, then you sort of set yourself up for a potential event. See, I guess you become a victim when you stop still. So that's something to bear in mind, especially survival. You'll keep it on the move. I think the great thing about these swans is they're all being domesticated. You've only got to stand next to the water and they come over. So if I haven't eaten for about a week, I just need to pretend to offer them some bread, and I'll probably capture one of them. Probably quite an easy process, really. So also doing a bit of research into Titans and stuff like that. Basically, with the Greeks, is that they had that connection with planets and gods. So the planets are gods, and they tell the story of the planets through the gods as well. So there's a lot of interesting sort of things that have occurred in the history. So I think they have about 12 like gods, titans type entities, and there's strange stories, and it might seem a bit sort of graphic, but they sort of lead into something else. Like I think it was such as Cronus castrating its father, and then the blood dropped onto planet Earth, or Gaia, and from the sea rose Aphrodite. So it's kind of these kind of cryptic things that might play into space history, maybe, if that's probably the best way of looking at it, or some sort of astro history. Or it might be astrocosmology. There's some potential things. I mean, I think while certain elite processes can be put in place and psyops take place, I think any kind of putting an iron oxide into the atmosphere is probably not on the elitist agenda. And there's a lot of bodies or planets moving around in the area. It's obviously freaking out people, but I don't think the elite could hide if a planetoid or something walloped this planet. Well, it might have a chance. Depends how far they can go in. So there's going to be some big changes on the horizon, people might not want to accept it. And the other thing I was going to say about as well, HAARP, is that with the earthquakes, they could be engineered. There's been a lot of fracking that's been going on, and there was also the pattern of John Kerry. He went to Japan, and then shortly after there was an earthquake, and then he went off to the Antarctica, and now he's gone back from there, and now there seems to be issues in the poles with it heating up. So it could be accelerating the timeline to benefit the elite, because then you control the outcome, so there's no surprise really. So if you melt the caps in advance, then you can prepare for the flood that you've created, rather than the other situation the other way around whereby it takes you by surprise. It's also got a massive resource of clean water as well, so these kind of things, it wouldn't surprise me if they accelerate what is already happening to predict the outcome, because I think a World War III physical kind of war without nukes isn't going to happen yet. But if they can, say if you can use microwave technology, then use it, aim at reactors and all sorts of things, and try to push things forward, basically. Other things I'm noticing as well is that my pineal seems to be going a bit AWOL. Maybe the blood pressure is increasing, possibly if you're having your brain cooked by microwaves. I wouldn't worry too much about your DNA. You don't need loads of it to recover. Actually, how long as your base is strong. So if you take things like ormus and bicarbonate soda and other things that sort of keep your body alkaline, keep your body mineralised, then you only need a small percentage of DNA to sort of start healing the rest of it. It's when that signal's broken you get problems. And sort of as crazy as it sounds, you can use tin foil to deflect microwaves. If you get the point where it is severe, it won't be like you get with weather warnings. You might have, and they have UV warnings. They might have this kind of other type of warning, space weather warning, high radiation. So you might want to just have these kind of things. Just think about it. You stock up with some tin foil, and then what you do is you put it, like say, put on your hat, put it underneath your hat or whatever you need to do, or you could sew it into the lining, and then you put something across your shoulders as well. And this would reflect some of the microwaves back out. A bit like if you chuck a ball of, not you don't obviously try it as an experiment, but if you put tin foil into a microwave, it would cause explosions because it reflects the rays back on itself, and they just sort of collide, and then I think it's changed, their frequency changes, so they go into like probably pushes them into a gamma. That's actually probably a gamma. A gamma blast is when two microwaves collide like that. It just pushes into that spectrum, and then it kind of breaks down. So yeah, so I'm sort of waiting for this gamma wave. I've been following all the different news. I think keep yourself fairly grounded. Don't assume that the government's out to get you and all this sort of stuff, because you might be a bit overkill. However, don't trust anyone. Do have a contingency plans, and also just keep aware of things. You can kind of overkill it, and you can prepare. What you need to be careful about, if you want to get people on board, is don't overdo it. They don't want to hear about Anunnaki and Nibiru and the return of the Sumerian gods and all these kind of things. It's just too much for them to handle, and they will just basically rule it out as a fantasy or insanity. If they saw a film of it, they might sort of entertain the idea. There's just basically this cosmic changes, cosmic events, changes to the sun. I think when they actually can see the planet there, and people scream and say, well, that's Planet X, mate. You have to do your research. They're sort of like bewildered. What's this planet? Then you can fill in the blanks, but only let them ask the questions to you, because you have the knowledge base. But then us and them scenario is not going to help, especially if anybody authority turns up, because they just freak out basically, and that won't be sort of useful. Like get their guns and all these other things. So you just need to have that balanced thinking, even if it does seem a bit strange. There's definitely strange energy fields that are going on, because I can feel them in my body. Like I say, pineals, dreams and other stuff like that seem to be affected. but I don't know if they're good or bad because I can't really tell. I mean, I get the idea that it's, you know, like I say, they woke up and they said, oh, it could be a nuclear type of weapon. And now I didn't think of that. It's just like, well, I did think it did come through my brain, but it was almost like suggested by someone. Cause when I was thinking through some stuff I've seen, that they could be weaponising space weather and then incorporating it as forms of attack against people. Because I think also, if you can actually kill off people in advance of it turning up, it would make the job a lot easier. I mean, in a kind of Nazi way of doing it, they did it in phases on people if they were going to kill them. They wouldn't just sort of line them up and kill loads of them, because it would be too hard, not unless they can do it very, very quickly, which they couldn't at the time. So yeah, anyway, on a more merrier sort of tone, enjoy your Christmas, stay safe. If there is a gamma wave, it only lasts like a minute, they reckon, but there's other reports saying it lasts like 2 years of energy come this way. We just don't know how it works because it's a different type of energy based on the flash that they saw in the sky, like daylight for like a minute. That's probably the energy waves equivalent. It's going to last about the same period, so of time. So yeah. Anyway, Merry Christmas and speak to you soon.